Are you ready to unlock your full potential and maximize your productivity? Look no further than Productivity Smart, the ultimate audio podcast hosted by renowned productivity expert Gerald J. Leonard. In every episode, Gerald shares captivating stories, invaluable tips, and cutting-edge strategies that will transform the way you approach productivity. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, overcome overwhelm, or simply get more done in less time, Productivity Smart has got you covered. But that's not all. You'll also gain inspiration from real-life success stories of individuals who have achieved greatness through productivity. Plus, you'll learn the latest tools, techniques, and habits that will help you achieve a new level of happiness and fulfillment in your personal and professional life. So why wait? Join us every week as we delve into the exciting world of productivity and help you unleash your full potential. Get ready to take your productivity to the next level with Productivity Smarts. As a productivity expert and host of the Productivity Smarts podcast, Gerald J. Leonard has been a proud supporter of Kiva since 2011. Kiva is a non-profit organization that helps entrepreneurs in third world countries access the capital they need to start or grow their businesses. By making a small loan through Kiva, you can help these entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, support their families, and contribute to their local economies. And with a repayment rate of over 96%, your loan can be relent to another entrepreneur once it's repaid, creating a ripple effect of positive change. So if you're looking for a meaningful way to make a difference in the world, consider making a loan through Kiva. With loans as small as $25, anyone can be a microlender and help change lives. Visit kiva.org to learn more and start lending today.
Today, I'm really excited to have our guest, Shanae Chapman. She is the founder of Nerdy Diva and also serves as a strategic project partner for clients working with the Nerdy Diva team. At Nerdy Diva, Shanae supports SaaS companies with their toughest challenges and helps them to grow into mature, community-focused businesses. She leads the area of business strategy, user research, design, content creation, and training on client projects. Shanae is a graduate of Northeastern University with a master's in informatics. Shanae, how are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the introduction.
Excellent, excellent. I'm so glad you were able to come on, and I really enjoyed meeting you up in St. Louis at the mixer that we met at. Now, let me ask you a question. How did you get started, and how did you come up with the name Nerdy Diva, and how did you get started with what you're doing, and what's made you successful?
Yeah, love those questions. So I've always had entrepreneurial spirit. I've always been interested in how do people make money and grow businesses and build teams, and how does that happen?
Right.
As a young person, I grew up in the inner city in St. Louis, and we struggled. We were working class poor, and just thought to myself, like, how can I make a way for myself and not provide jobs for myself, but how can I provide jobs for other people? What are some things that I can do? And some of the things I did early on were things like babysitting and being a part of programs where I could teach and share knowledge with kids who were younger than me, and was able to pass along information and realize, like, oh, okay, this is a way that I can also create some income for myself. So that was really something that started that bug in my ear that, oh, okay, like sharing knowledge, teaching and caring for other people can be a way that I can be an entrepreneur and make some income for myself, and be able to also share that with other people in my life. So that's how I started. I have always been a creative, always drawing and reading and creating designs. And I thought I was going to be a fashion designer, but that didn't turn out to be the type of career that I have led. But I went to college, first generation college graduate, and I studied communication, so writing and public speaking and design. And I fell in love with doing design work in a digital perspective. So being able to take the medium of technology and use it to convey meanings and messages and
Right.
share information and influence people. And I thought this is so creative. And I have professors at the time who they were teaching, but they were also entrepreneurs. They
Right.
were also business owners. And I thought, oh, these people are making a living here by teaching and by also doing things that they love, designing and researching and working directly with clients. And I said, I want some of that. I want to do that.
Right.
And I was 19 and I started freelancing as a graphic designer and worked with small businesses in St. Louis. And I've been doing that for over, oh my goodness, I don't want to date myself, but I've been doing that for a long time.
Just say you're seasoned,
Yeah.
a little seasoned with it. Yeah,
Season,
there you
yes,
go.
yes, yes. And
Excellent.
in 2018, I incorporated Nerdy Diva. So we've been in business almost 5 years at this point.
Now, why Nerdy Diva? You still didn't answer that question. So why that title?
Yeah, yeah. So I worked in technology in corporate roles and also was doing my freelancing. And I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me, who are Black people, Black women in the field. And I knew it was important to have that representation.
Right.
So building products being used for people across the world, having that global mindset, and also having a sense of that lived experience
Right.
of what racism is, what sexism is, and being able to bring that into doing research and design for building out new technologies, new websites, new apps, and want to make sure that when we talk to clients and when we talk to people who are in this space, that we're bringing in that ethical perspective and inclusive design and representation. So that was something that was very much on my heart and mind as I was growing in my tech career and knew that I wanted to be able to contribute in a meaningful way.
Gotcha. Now, as the Productivity Smarts podcast, the thing we focus here on is just, being productivity smart, right? And I use that title or that name of the podcast because it's really about not just being productive and getting a lot of things done, but really thinking about it. And I like the way, in your the introduction that I read about you, how you focus on strategy, about being strategic. What do you think is poorly misunderstood for a young Black lady as an entrepreneur, to become strategic and have a really strong pathway or mindset about what you're trying to do? What do you think it could be really misunderstood out in the market with that?
I think something that I know, at least from my own experience, we didn't talk about money enough when I was
Okay.
growing up. We didn't talk about how do you negotiate contracts, salaries, projects that you have as an entrepreneur. And that's something that comes up all the time. How do
Yes.
you price your products and services? And how do you stay competitive? Also, how do you make a profit?
Right.
And how do you create surplus so that you can build your business and grow and hire more people? And it was always a hush hush thing, like you don't bring up politics, religion, or money. And I think that really holds people back, especially. I can speak from my experience as a Black woman. It holds Black women back because we're not having those conversations about expectations and oftentimes sell ourselves short when it comes to pricing, and when
Right.
it comes to like salary negotiations as well.
Exactly. And obviously, you've made an impact, and you've diversified yourself. You've grown your business. Tell us your story. And I know you talked a little bit about your background and so on, but what were the parts of your story that really got you to thinking, or maybe some points in your background that really get where you saw, what, I can do this, and this can really work.
Yeah, so I was working in tech. So I worked at big companies like IBM, and I worked on um, MATLAB for the
Okay.
engineers and scientists in the house. So very big enterprise companies. Also, I worked at Akamai, that's in Cambridge, in the Boston, Massachusetts area. And I was often the only Black person,
Right.
period, in the room. And also often the only woman in the room, working on teams with white men, and South Asian men, and working to build new products and services, working on like search algorithms and data collection processes. And I would hear the people on my team use harmful language to describe dependencies in databases and in search algorithms. They would say, oh, that's a master database, or that's a slave database, that's a blacklist, that's a whitelist. And would hear that day in and day out. And I thought, this is not right. This is not okay that this language is being used in technology as if it has no relation to historical events that have happened and today's current inequities.
Right.
And so I said something. We had team meetings where we talked about how the team was doing. And I brought up, I was like, hey guys, I don't feel safe in this space. Like my ancestors were enslaved people. And it makes me really uncomfortable to hear databases and search algorithms that we are using and developing being referred to in a relationship like master slave,
Right.
blacklist, whitelist. And, you know, that was a big step for me. That was me showing some vulnerability to my colleagues.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I didn't know what would happen, but I knew I had to at least try.
Right.
So there was a huge pause, pregnant pause.
I'm sure there was.
And then one guy said, well, we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
That's the way that is written. That's the way the code is set up. And I thought, oh, okay, well, this is not going to change. And, you know, I felt this sense of dread and like my heart dropped. And I was like, oh, well, they're not really listening to me. Like what I'm saying doesn't really matter. Like,
Right.
why am I here? And someone else on the team, he spoke up and he said, I don't want you to feel that way. There's other language we can use. And he was a partner to me. And he and I created some ideas about alternative language that we could use for these systems going forward.
Yep.
So instead of master slave, came up with using primary, secondary, or lead follow.
Yeah.
And it shares that relationship between the properties in a meaningful way that's not colorized, that's
Gotcha.
not, you know, steeped in superiority and inferiority. So we worked on changing that culture together, and I thought this is important. Like I had been in multiple job sites at that point and had heard it multiple times.
Yeah.
And I thought this has come up too many times. I need to continue to share this information out to people. And it may just be that people don't have the information. And if they have it, then they can do something about it. So I set to start creating workshops and trainings and a glossary of these terms to share out to the community, and have been doing that for the past 3 years, mostly virtually, sharing that out across the U.S.
Okay.
and to international audiences as well.
Okay. That's excellent. You know, that's really important, and it's great that you did that because one, it is a step of faith, right? And that requires courage. And courage doesn't mean that you just step out and you're not concerned about the outcome, but it means that you are willing to say something in the face of fear.
Yeah.
Right? You're willing to say something in the face of fear and to be courageous. And by doing that, you know, you touch someone else's heart who said, you know what, you're right. The way the nomenclature we're using for how we're talking about these systems isn't actually conducive to building a cohesive culture. Right? And it
absolutely.
began to change some things. And now it sounds like it's giving you a mission.
Yes, absolutely. So language is powerful and it sets a tone for how you show up in the world and what you hold dear, what you respect, and who's included and who's not. So we
Exactly.
see that every day. So to some people, they may think, oh, it's not a big deal. But, you know, although those many steps, they make up the sum of all the parts and they come together and influence our day to day in our world. So
Exactly.
doing my part to make it better.
There
Yes.
you go. And I want to encourage you because I did a certification a couple of years ago in neuroscience. And one of the reasons I did it was because in 2018 I had a major bout with vertigo. A lot of people who listen to my podcast have heard about this. and I lost the ability to walk, and it happened 6 weeks before a TEDx talk. Long story
Oh my
short, I
God.
used those instruments behind me to rebuild my
Yeah.
neurology and
I
start
love it.
walking again. And within 6 weeks, I walked on stage and delivered my TEDx talk.
Oh, love
I'd
it.
studied with a lady named Judith Glazer before she passed away. She wrote the book Conversational Intelligence, and one of the phrases she would always say is, "Words create worlds." That the
Yes.
words we use create the world that we live in. So if we use positive, encouraging, motivational, upbuilding words, we create a world that we see that has those images and things. But also if we use oppressive language and so on and so forth, we also create that kind of world. Now, before we dive deeper in this conversation, because it's getting really juicy, before we dive deeper in this conversation, I want to take a moment to tell you about a fantastic book, A Symphony of Choices.
Introducing A Symphony of Choices, the must-read book for any manager looking to improve their decision-making, project management, and workplace engagement skills. Author Gerald J. Leonard takes readers on a journey through a high-pressure season for a symphony orchestra, where a mentorship program was implemented to turn things around. Through real-life examples and relatable anecdotes, you'll learn how mentorship can transform a team, boost productivity, and achieve outstanding results. This book is not just for music industry professionals, but for anyone in a leadership position who wants to improve their management skills. With practical tips and actionable advice, you'll discover how to make sound decisions in high-pressure situations, motivate your team to achieve their best work, manage complex projects with ease, foster a culture of collaboration and teamwork, and much more. A Symphony of Choices is a timely resource full of practical tools and real examples that will help you build the knowledge and skills to thrive in a project-driven world. Antonio Nieto Rodriguez. A Symphony of Choices is a book that will inspire and empower you to become a better leader. Whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out in your career, this book is an invaluable resource for anyone looking to improve their management skills and achieve success in the workplace. Order your copy today and join the thousands of managers who have already benefited from the mentorship lessons presented in A Symphony of Choices.
Welcome back. Now, I think what we're talking about, the criticality of words and how important the usage of words are. What do you think is really a conflict or poorly understood around this issue of words? Because it sounds like that now has become a part of your mission, is to create a vocabulary of how we talk about technology, of how we interface with each other. What are some of your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lack of understanding that the technology that we are building today, that is emerging, like AI, has a lot of biases and a lot of risks, and that includes the way that language is fed into the systems and what it outputs to people who use those tools. So there's a lot of people who are creating these systems who don't have the lived experience of being marginalized and or having the ability to use words in a way that influences billions of people across the world, but yet they don't have that cultural awareness and that mindset that the language matters and that it sets the tone for, does it produce stereotypes and biases and reinforce that, or does it create more equity and opportunity and encourages a positive future? So I think that's something that's really still to be determined if we're going to have these systems that are currently being built develop that sense of understanding the importance of language and how that reflects the people who use those systems.
Exactly. And I think, too, with the usage of AI, which to me at this point, it's exciting, but it's also alarming to the sense that things are moving so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And even for the most educated of us, if we're not keeping up with what's happening with AI, how to use those tools, how to incorporate them, and as you're saying, with the language that is being used, because we also have a part in that, right? Because anytime we type something into ChatGPT or any of those other AI tools, it's learning.
Yeah.
So we can help it learn how we want to be communicated with, right? Just like someone else could put in their language that could be detrimental to folks who don't look like them from that standpoint. So I think that's really critical that, and again, I think that's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing with my podcast and bringing people on like yourself is to really open people's minds, give them short, actionable things that they can walk away with, but to use words to get them to think about, hey, am I being productive in the right way? And am I using my language to help not only myself grow, but also to help my community grow? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to have co-creation with diverse communities. And part of my work and user experience is bringing the people into the process who are going to use these technological tools. And so that means, like in AI, for example, not only creating algorithms, but having people use the products like Google search, for example. They caught a lot of heat because they had a lot of representative harm in their search algorithm.
Right.
If you typed in white doctors would show up just for typing in the word doctor, as if only white doctors exist. So it didn't represent the totality that there is diversity in the medical field. And that's an example of representative harm. So understanding that these systems are built by people and people are imperfect and they need to have some review, some checks and balances, and ethics needs to be important for the development of these products as well.
Excellent. That's a eye-opening idea or thought around, just even from a Google search standpoint. Now, when you think about your life and you're sitting here and let's say we have another conversation a year from now, what would be something that you're really excited and proud that you're working on or that you're doing or that you're seeing in your life?
Yeah, so I mentioned the Inclusive Tech Glossary. So this is a body of work that is ongoing. So it takes a lot of those harmful terms in technology, master slave, blacklist, whitelist, et cetera, and provides alternatives that are equitable and inclusive, but also clearly define the relationship and how it's meant to be used for building out technology systems and tools and databases and coding and designing for today and the future tools to come. And so I've been working on putting this glossary together with team members across the country, and people have contributed as volunteers as well. And right now we're working on the web interface for this glossary. It currently lives in a code database on GitHub. So if you have any developers tuning in, they know GitHub very well, but also want to make it accessible to people who are not developers and who also want to have this information and be conscious of the language they use and have this information readily available as well.
Excellent. That sounds like an amazing tool. And I don't know why, but the thought came to me, it sounds like you got a book inside of you. I know you've already, I know you've written some books, but I was thinking about, the quote from Judith around words creating worlds, and I could kind of see you creating a book highlighting, for I'd say the more common American or common person in the world who maybe is not as technological savvy as you are, but just the value and the importance of how our words really do create the worlds that we live in, and how we can take a conscious step towards creating the world that we really want to live in from that standpoint. Now, to become and to do the things that you've done, I always say success leaves clues. And when you find someone who's being successful in what they're doing, they always have models or someone that they've been mentored by. Who are some of your models or mentors that have helped you to become who you're becoming?
Yeah, so when I think about mentors, I think about different stages in my life where I had different mentors based upon what I needed at that time. And I think back to when I was a little girl in school, I had an amazing art teacher named Miss Johnson, and she encouraged me to be creative and to take lemons and make lemonade and be able to create from mistakes and to grow from that and to use that as lessons learned. And that's something that I've taken with me throughout my life. Also, in more recent years, having other educators in this space. Jen Kramer is a great mentor, sponsor, and friend to me. And she's encouraged me to continue to teach and share knowledge and that my voice matters and people want to hear from me. Also Heather O'Neill. So she's been a great business coach to me and had encouraged me to connect with the New York Times reporter. And I told my story about salary negotiation and how my experience as a Black woman in tech evolved over the years when it came to negotiating my salary. And that's been a story that has helped a lot of people step out of their shell and negotiate salaries for themselves as well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Would you consider that one of your aha moments?
Yeah, definitely. The idea of requesting salary based upon my work experience and based upon my performance and having that conversation, which can definitely be a difficult conversation,
Yep.
and doing my homework and bringing in the research and the data, and then just asking other people that I know, like having those conversations about money, like how much are you making? Like how much is this job making? So being able to step over some of those comfort zones and do that research and be present in that conversation and be willing to be uncomfortable. That has
Yeah,
definitely been an
yeah.
aha moment.
That's amazing because you have to have those uncomfortable conversations like that, and it really at the end of the day it drives to you being compensated for what you're really worth, right? The value that you're bringing to the table, the results that you're going to deliver, and it's not about um, you know the inequities that are present in our work environments, but it's really about paying people what they're worth based on their experience, their knowledge, their capabilities, and so on. And many times, to get what we're worth, we really do have to put our foot down and learn how to negotiate accordingly. So it sounds like you had an amazing experience, and sounds like it was written up in the New York Times, or at least you got to
Yeah.
express it to a New York Times reporter that reported on this on you and what you had done, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was really great to be featured in that story in the beginning of 2022. So um, definitely would encourage anyone who's interested about negotiating salaries and contracts to research that article and also look into other resources to practice negotiating salaries. And that definitely comes up as someone who has a business as well, negotiating contracts. So
Yes.
being able to also have those conversations. And I think it's also really important to also share that there's two sides of it. It's one, knowing how to negotiate, but
Yep.
the other side of it is for the people who are in power to make those decisions to treat it in an equitable way. So if you have a man and a woman both requesting these negotiated salaries, sometimes we see in the data that the woman doesn't get the raise. So
Right.
thinking about that and about those ideas of who's worthy and who isn't, and being mindful of that. And are we giving more thought to criticism when the person who's asking doesn't look like who we would expect to be in leadership? So
Right.
those are some things to consider as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, before we move on and continue our conversation, if you want to take your productivity to the next level and achieve even greater success, check out our sponsor, Growth Strategies.
Are you looking for a way to take your business or career to the next level? Look no further than the Growth Strategies Coaching and Mastermind program from the Productivity Intelligence Institute. This innovative program is designed for entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals who want to accelerate their growth and achieve their goals faster than they ever thought possible. Led by productivity expert and mastermind coach Gerald J. Leonard, this program offers a unique blend of coaching, mentorship, and peer support. Through weekly coaching calls, personalized feedback, and accountability from a supportive community of like-minded professionals, you'll learn the strategies and tactics you need to achieve your most ambitious goals. Whether you're looking to increase revenue, build your team, or launch a new product or service, the Growth Strategies Coaching and Mastermind program can help you get there. Ready to take your business or career to the next level? Sign up for the Growth Strategies Coaching and Mastermind program today at productivityintelligenceinstitute.com/mastermind.
Welcome back. Now, tell me about a time where or a challenge that you've helped some of your clients with lately.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I have worked with Northeastern University.
Okay.
This is in Boston, Massachusetts, and they have wanted to increase representation of women of color in the STEM professions and the STEM majors and faculty as well. So they have created a Women of Color in the Academy conference where they share information to help with retention and recruitment, and to give people who may not know about technology and STEM careers
Right.
some information about what's possible and what can exist, and also to have that shared space for people to support each other. So I came in as a speaker a few weeks ago and shared a workshop on designing anti-racism into your products and services.
Oh, wow.
Walk through product development from a technology standpoint, how to identify your MVP, so your minimal viable product,
Yep.
and what does it mean to go through the design thinking process and user-centered design process to understand who your target audience is, what problems do they face, and brainstorming ideas to help them alleviate that pain through solutionizing. So walk them through that process, and also very important to remember thinking about anti-racism, thinking about representation, thinking about language, thinking about access, and making sure that that's part of the process of creating new products and services. So it was a great workshop and had a lot of engagement. So very happy to see that attention paid to the work. And many people said that they had new ideas that they would take with them to continue to think upon and ponder.
Right. Right. Now, I know there's a lot of, with news and everything else, there's a lot of always negative discussions about politics and so on and so forth, and the economy, and the evils of AI and so on. But what trends are you seeing that actually give you hope?
Yeah, I am inspired by having the opportunity to work with young people in summer internships. So
Yep.
this is the second year that Nerdy Diva will host two interns through our partnership with Boys and Girls Club and St. Louis Youth Jobs. And the people who talk a lot of negative talk around Gen Z and say like, oh, they're not, inspired, they don't want to work. I don't think they really spend a lot of time with people from that population and ask them, what do you think?
Right.
What are your ideas? And I have that opportunity to bring these young people into a room and guide them in brainstorming, thinking about new ideas and new technologies and how to move the needle forward. And it's an amazing thing to see, like to see that inspiration and see that they care so much about creating equity and creating inclusive, safe spaces for many people. And that's just part of how they approach life. It's a really beautiful thing to see.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And as we wrap up here, where can people learn about you and find out more about you? Or if you have like a white paper or worksheet or something that you get people to check out or read, where can people learn about you?
Yeah, definitely check out nerdydiva.com. And we are on LinkedIn. You can find me, Shanae Chapman, and also Nerdy Diva is on LinkedIn. So we would love to hear from you.
Excellent. Well, Shanae, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, learning about the things that you're working on and how you're making a difference and how you are creating a catalog around words within the technological field and how it's really having an impact. And you're creating a community of technologists that are concerned about that, and you're actually doing something about it more than sitting back and just kind of where some people will just kind of grumble about it. You're doing something about it, which is empowering and really moving the ball forward. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for coming on to the Productivity Smarts podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you very much. If you're enjoying the content and finding it valuable, we would appreciate it if you could take a moment and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us and helps us reach a wider audience. If you leave us a 5-star review, it would mean the world to us. Not only does it help us improve the podcast, but it also helps us attract more sponsors and grow our community. Thank you again for your support and for listening to the Productivity Smarts podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to Productivity Smarts, where we help you achieve your goals and live your best life. We hope you've gained valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your productivity and increase your happiness and fulfillment. Remember to apply what you've learned and keep striving towards your goals. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring episodes and expert advice from our host, Gerald J. Leonard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and unleashing your productivity smarts.